Hey everybody, welcome back to Networking for Law Students and Lawyers, our newly named YouTube channel from Networking for Law Students LLC. Here we provide networking tips and network on behalf of law students, lawyers, pre-law students, and recent law school graduates. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different and react to an old audio interview I did while I was still in law school. This interview was with one of my mentors and friend, Judge Dixon, and the topic was networking receptions. Networking receptions are just one form of networking, but it is the source of anxiety for a lot of people, and there are a lot of misconceptions. So if you're interested in learning more about networking receptions, just keep watching. If you want to hear the full audio interview without interruption, check out the link in the description box below. Let's get it.
Judge Andrew Dixon of Florida. You'll be able to see Judge Dixon's bio in the link provided. Thank you, Judge Dixon, for helping our members with the vital skill of networking.
So just stopping here, I just added just pictures of him, his professional photo, my photo, and then a photo of us together, just because you need to watch something on YouTube. Because this was an audio interview, and it's in the pamphlet called Networking Receptions on the networkingforlawstudents.com website. So pressing play again at 15 seconds in.
Today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, let's jump right into it. What is networking, and do law students have to network?
Yes, law students should network. It's how you initiate and cultivate relationships, and it is something that really is simply essential. It's a skill that you have to develop, and not just for your law school years, but for beyond, because it allows people to put your face with your name and vice versa.
Just stopping there at 39 seconds in. So yes, I love his definition of networking here. It is something that you have to cultivate, and it's something that you should start with in law school, not just, start once you graduate law school. So networking is so important, and your career actually starts in law school. So you actually should be networking with your fellow law students, your professors, the deans, etc. So pressing play.
First, and not just for that night, but going forward, and ultimately it's going to allow you to connect with people, find common interests that'll help you down the line in terms of businesses and personal favors.
Okay, great. Thank you. Regarding networking receptions, what are some pitfalls that you see that law students make?
I would say one of them is not following up. I think it's one thing to have a solid 10-minute conversation with an attorney.
Just stopping here at 1:03. So yes, both law students, pre-law students, recent grads, and lawyers for decades, old lawyers that have been practicing for decades, are terrible about following up. And we have a pamphlet, see the description box below, about the art of following up, and that's with another attorney NEENA SPEER, and that's another audio interview. So make sure you check out that link in the description box. So pressing play.
Or a judge, and then not following up with an email or letter thanking them for taking the time to speak with them. I've had law students that I've really wanted to, like to work with or mentor, or just keep an eye out for, and then after the networking session, I never hear from them ever again, and it left me kind of disappointed. I think another.
Stopping here at 1:22. So the reason why I'm stopping it here is because that's actually kind of where I got my start for Networking for Law Students LLC as a business. I was just sick and tired of seeing law students and recent graduates just kind of blow their chances at these networking receptions. And I just wanted to say, hey, here are some tips that you could follow and make it work for you. But I just kept seeing, it was kind of like watching a car crash almost. They just kept making these mistakes and just not following up, and that's just a huge mistake, or following up too late and the person forgot about them already. So pressing play at 1 minute 22 seconds in.
The other one is going in with a set of questions but not really listening to the answer, because it makes it seem like you're just going through the motions and not really interested in learning or even connecting with the lawyer or judge that you're talking to. I've had that.
So I'm stopping it again at 1:33. So I'm stopping here because I've seen that as well. People just asking questions and just not really listening to the answers. And sometimes they were only talking to, it seemed like they were talking to one person because another person that they really wanted to talk to was busy with someone else. So they wanted to they were kind of like marking time almost. And nobody wants to feel like that. Nobody wants to feel like you're just doing this for the sake of doing it. Like, they want to know that you're interested in talking to them. So just make sure that you're not, looking over their shoulder to try to find somebody more interesting to talk to. So pressing play at 1:33.
Happen as well.
Oh, wow. Well, just a quick follow-up. When should they follow up?
I would say within 3-4 days at the most. After that, you're going to start to because you get back into your routine with work and things like that, and you start to forget who the people were that you met. Especially if you're at a specific networking event where you talk to really 10, 20, 30 people possibly. So you want to make sure that you follow up and keep that memory fresh in the person's head.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So stopping in again at 207, I totally agree with that because you're gonna forget. Like you can't just say, "Hey, I met you at that networking reception last year." They're not gonna remember you because keep in mind, like each attorney, each judge, each legal professional is networking with multiple people, and they're not gonna necessarily remember you right off unless there was something outstanding about your conversation that they would zero in on. So make sure that you follow up like right away. I would say even earlier than that, when he said 3 to 4 days at most, I would just say either that night or the next morning. Try to shoot for that as a goal. I know, sometimes it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. You're getting back into, law school. You're getting into your jobs if you have a job or your internship. But make sure that you're following up right away. So pressing play at 207.
What should law students bring to a networking reception, and what should they avoid bringing to a networking reception?
Bring an open mind. Just be able to make sure that you're able to connect with the person, and having an open mind means that you're going to be willing to listen to what they have to say, that you don't already feel like everything there is about what the person is talking about. It's always good to make sure that you're receptive to what the person is talking about. If you have business cards, bring those as well. And patience. Lawyers love to talk about themselves, I've always noticed. And so they will, they'll get off on a tangent, and you just want to make sure that you're showing respect by listening to what they have to say, but that you're able to kind of redirect the conversation the way you're hoping to.
So stopping here at 304. So I've had this happen to me where the person, well, actually not just to me. I went with one of the organizations that I served while I was still in law school as a board member, and we went to a networking function at a courthouse. And this is a courthouse, and it was actually in another state than where I'm from, but not that matters. But there was one guy who was like an older member of the bar. He was in like his 80s or 90s, and he wanted to regale people with stories of the good old days. And it didn't rub people the right way. People kind of just zoned out in the conversation. I love that stuff, but even if you don't love that stuff, if someone is talking to you about something and they're kind of off topic, show them that respect, because they don't have to talk to you. They actually don't have to be at this networking reception. They're showing up probably because they want to help younger members of the bar, or they're trying to help law students or pre-law students. So they're there to help. So just respect them because they don't have to be there. So pressing play at 304.
What was your other question? Oh, yeah. What should they avoid bringing? Bring in an attitude that you've already got it made, or that you already know it all. Because no matter you don't, at that point, no matter how connected that you think you are, and because people will talk, and they'll say, well, there was this kid at this networking reception that I met. He thought he was a know-it-all. He thought he knew everything. So people do talk, and you don't want to have that. You don't want to put that out there. So that you get, if you're trying to network with.
So stopping here at 335. So this is pretty interesting when he brought this up, because networking is about relationships, and so is the legal field. So it's about relationships. It's about reputation. I'll do separate videos about reputation itself. But you don't want to get a negative reputation just for being a know-it-all. It just rubs people the wrong way, so you want to avoid that. So I'm stopping here at 335. The reason why I'm stopping it here is because, yeah, networking is about relationships, and the legal field is about relationships. That's how you get business as an attorney, and that's how you bring business if you're working for a law firm, that you don't own. They want attorneys that bring in business, that because of their reputation. So reputation matters. You don't want a reputation of being a know-it-all, especially when you're in law school. You're just learning. You're not there to, to just show off. It's there for a learning experience. It's a growing experience when you're at networking receptions. And just keep in mind that more seasoned attorneys, more seasoned legal professionals, again, are probably just there to help others. And they're also there to help themselves. But if they're there, they don't necessarily have to be there. They've already made it. You haven't. So I hate to put it that way, but I just have to tell the truth. Like, you haven't made it yet. So you shouldn't be conceited about it. Even if you feel like you're well connected, even if you have family in the legal field, you still have to network as an individual. So pressing play at 335.
Somebody, you try to meet with someone, further down the line, they don't already have a negative view of you.
Good point. Thanks. I've gotten questions from our members about what to discuss at networking receptions.
So I'm stopping here at 347. When I say members, I did do this interview for a law student organization. I'll name the organization because it's a positive thing. I'm never going to talk about an organization negatively and name the organization. I'm just not going to do that. But it was for the National Black Law Students Association. We actually never released it because in law student organizations, like you want to do a whole bunch of things, but you only have a year to do them. Really 10 months to do them. So it's sometimes hard to pull that off. So I did this interview for Balsa, and so when you hear me say our members, that's what I mean. So pressing play at 347.
You and I met at a networking reception, and I distinctly remember not talking anything about the law. What should law students talk about?
So stopping again at 355, yeah. A lot of people have this misconception that networking receptions are just going to be like a quiz on the law. So they actually look up cases and they read all their cases that the professor assigned in the syllabus, and they feel like it's like a quiz. No, lawyers don't want to talk about just cases and random cases that your professor assigned. Like, that's not what it's about. I actually did a little cheat sheet for you on the Networking for Law Students LLC site. If you scroll all the way down on each of the pages, you'll find a ticker, a news ticker. So you'll find different things to talk about in the areas of entertainment, in the areas of politics, and sports. Especially. So those things are the things that you could zero in on. You could just focus on the headlines if you want to, and then read up more later. But that's a little bit of a cheat sheet for you because I wanted you to feel supported when you do show up at these events and that you're not really on your own. So pressing play at 355.
I like to hear about people's backgrounds. I like to hear what led them to apply to law school in the first place, how they're finding law school, what's been challenging, what's been surprising, things that have been enjoyable. And I also want to hear what their interests after graduation are.
Stopping here at 412. So I don't want you to do too much of this. This is what I called I'm a 1L woe is me story, or I'm a law student woe is me story. I hate that because you have to think about it from the other person's perspective, the legal professional's perspective. How does that distinguish you from other law students that might be there? And mind you, they're having the same conversations pretty much. Like, what you find troublesome about law school, somebody else probably does too. So they've been having that conversation over and over and over again. So you want to say something like, start with that, but then kind of move on to something more interesting. A more interesting topic that everybody could relate to. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole of I'm a law student, woe is me, because by and large, the attorney that you're speaking with has been a law student before. They know what it is. And a lot of people don't like to hear about a lot of complaints and a lot of negativity. They want to be positive. So if you're talking about a problem that you have, talk about things that you are steps that you're taking to resolve those problems. So pressing play at 412.
So it's not so much talking about, specific things about the law, again, to show how much you know. Just, when you're networking with somebody, you want to get to, you're cultivating a relationship. You want the person to get to know you. So those are the type of things that, I'll ask about and try to learn about.
So stopping it at 429, yes, they're trying to get to know you, not your problems. Okay, I hate to say it like that, but I really do. But it's not about negativity. This is not about your own personal therapy session. This is not where you talk about how to, that you're not getting along with your fellow law students, that you're not getting along with other people, or boyfriend, girlfriend problems, husband, spouse, wife, whatever problems. That's not where you discuss these things. Just keep it, as certainly at first, keep it to, the news, the latest news stories, latest entertainment stories, if that comes up as well. And again, check that news ticker on the networkingforlawstudents.com site, because that's a little cheat sheet for you. All right, pressing play at 429.
The person.
Great. So how long should the conversation with each person be?
That's something that's going to depend. It depends on how well the conversation is going. You'll, just like any conversation that you're in, you'll know when it's starting to run its course. I've had conversations with law students that have lasted just a few minutes. I've had others that lasted at least 20 minutes. There's no real set time limit, but kind of watch for cues. If the attorney looks like, or the judge looks like they're ready to move on, don't just keep peppering them with questions. Just know how to wrap it up. Ask for a card or give them a card, and just kind of it's just like it is with any conversation.
So stopping here at 512. So the networking receptions pamphlet that's on the networkforlawstudents.com website, that will actually help you. That's where this audio is. I think it's on this audio interview is, I think the link is on page 6. But there's a whole bunch of other things to keep in mind that I've had for you. So again, the pamphlet is up on networkforlawstudents.com website under networking receptions. So pressing play at 512.
And you'll realize when it's time to kind of wrap it up and maybe move on to the next person.
Right. Should our members just walk up to people they don't know and just start talking? Or should they join in on a conversation? Or should they interrupt the conversation already taking place and start talking to the person that they wish to speak to?
Yeah, if they're already talking to somebody, it's not, you don't go in to interrupt the conversation. You just
Okay, so stopping at 538, I've actually seen that before. It's like somebody just goes up to a group and just starts talking. They fall into that category that we spoke about earlier of the know-it-all, the person that thinks that they're so connected and they have it all together. So don't do that. That's kind of just rude. So you want to make sure that you're not getting noticed for something like that. So pressing play at 538.
To join the conversation. Obviously the person will see you, and if they're really into networking and meeting as many people as possible, they'll say, hey, how you doing? It's not like they'll interrupt the person that
Stopping again at 554. So most people that go to networking receptions are like that. They're trying to meet as many people as possible. Some people aren't trying to do that. Some people are a little bit shyer. Some people are just not in the mood for it and they just kind of showed up. But most people, and I don't want you to hear that and get discouraged. Most people are interested in meeting you, meeting other people, and trying to expand their own network. So pressing play at 554.
Interrupt the conversation that they're already in, but they'll do something or say something to kind of invite you into the conversation. And there are other attorneys that are kind of shy that do want to be approached. I've caught myself as one of those. It's not always easy for me to go out and approach people. So I like it when people like law students and the potential mentees that come up to me and.
So stopping at 617. You would be surprised that some legal professionals are a little bit shy. You think that they're not. You think that they're like they're a killer in the courtroom, so you feel like they're going to be a killer in their personal life. Not always the case. Most of the time, not the case. It seems like in this legal field, like people really like people that are not aggressive exactly, but they're more outgoing. Being an introvert, you can still network as an introvert, and I'll do a separate video on that. because I consider myself a bit of an introvert. But you wouldn't notice that when I'm at a networking reception. You would think that I'm an extrovert, and that's just how I am. But it's just because I know how to network. Hence the whole business network for Lost Students LLC. So pressing play at 6:17.
Hope that I might have something to say. Is that if you're in terms of joining a conversation, if there's a law student that you know, it's it's good to kind of, as I said, just kind of ease yourself into the conversation and show that you're interested in what the person's already talking about. Now, if you see like two lawyers that are talking,
I'm gonna stop it here at 6:30. So this doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes you will have two attorneys that are talking about a case, that they might be from the same law firm or they might be from opposing sides, and they want to just talk about that case together, without somebody else honing in on that. So you may not want to hover when the conversation seems to be intense, and you'll see if it's just like quick back and forth. You could tell by their you know uh, facial expressions and their body language. So you don't want to interrupt that. So, but it doesn't happen a lot. Just use your best judgment. So pressing play at 6:38.
you kind of have to judge their body language, how intense the conversation is, how private the conversation appears to be before you want to jump in, and introduce yourself. You just want to, again, you might want to kind of hover around and, hope to try and get their attention and things like that. Now, if they're interrupting conversation that's, and then start talking to someone that they want to talk to, that's probably not the right thing to do.
So pressing stop at 7:04. So the reason why I stopped it here is, again, I've seen people do that. I've seen people just kind of, they wanted to talk to this person, all night, and they just start talking. That's not what you want to do. That falls into a category of, someone that you don't want to network and something that you don't want to be known for. And it's sort of like you're more important than them. Like it's a very self-important sort of thing to do. And again, everybody's there to network with each other. So you are not the most important person in the room. You're important to me. You're important to yourself, but you're not the most important person in the room. Everybody there is there for the same reason. So pressing play at 7:04.
Great, that's a good point. So what should law students avoid discussing or doing during a networking reception?
Actually, just to go back, I'm stopping in here at 7:11. Actually, just to go back a little bit, when I asked that question about what not to bring to a networking reception, what I was kind of searching for was actually book bags. You don't necessarily want to bring your book bag to a networking reception. At networking reception, you're trying to network with other law students and other legal professionals, judges, attorneys, and you want them to see you as an equal. They want you to see you. You want them to see you as a colleague, not as a perpetual student. That's not where you want to go. Because it's a difference in how you speak to people. So make sure that you're seen as a colleague, an equal, and you can't really do that with a book bag. Just have like a regular bag. Again, you don't want to have like a huge purse. And this is something, do as I say, not as I do, because I always have a big bag with me. I always have a bunch of stuff in there. Not something you want to do. And if they have a check-in, you might want to check that stuff in if you have your laptop. Also, a good tip is to have your cell phone on you and just sort of take that ticket and just take a photograph of it so it's on your phone, the ticket number, because I'm famous for losing that thing. And a lot of people do. So make sure you're checking any huge bags with you. Make sure you don't have your book bag. So pressing play at 7:11.
I wouldn't venture into a lot of political stuff, especially in in a state capital or big city, unless you know the background of the person.
Stopping here at 7:20. So when I did this interview, that was news to me. I was like shocked because I used to lead with a lot of politics. And then he showed me like how that's not a great idea. You don't know the person, you don't know their politics, you don't want to alienate yourself if they feel different from you, politically speaking. especially in a highly charged environment or highly charged political scene. And so this was total news to me. And so that just goes to show you learn something new every day. So pressing play at 7:20.
Person that you're already approaching. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, so that's also in a state capital. And again, unless you really know the person, it's not you don't want to go into real hardcore political stuff. You want to keep it general. You want to keep it about their background and your background.
Yeah, pressing stop at 7:37. You want to keep this conversation light, especially if this is the first time you're meeting someone. Venturing too heavy into politics is just not a good thing to do. If you do talk about politics, if the conversation comes up, you want to speak from like a high-minded, intellectual way, as opposed to emotional sort of way. Like something like, "I hate Trump." That's not what you say. You might want to give examples of how historically what Trump is doing, it doesn't work. That would be a better conversation, in that the person can see you beyond just the passion, beyond just the emotion, but see how you are as an intellectual, and how you are thinking wise. Like you don't want to be known as just somebody who just is a radical either way. You don't want somebody who's emotional either way. Like you just don't want that. So pressing play at 7:37.
Background as well. I wouldn't suggest flirting with the opposite sex either. I've seen people do that, and it's really odd and awkward.
Stopping here at 7:46. Oh boy. I've seen this a lot, and it is always awkward. When he says opposite sex, so that's kind of a limited view. Don't flirt, period. Like whether you're sexually fluid, gay, straight, bisexual, queer, whatever you are, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever title that you use for yourself, like just don't flirt at networking reception. It's about business. It's about getting to know each other on a at most a friendship level. And you don't want to hook up with people so fast, as far as romantically speaking or sexually speaking, because you don't know when first meeting somebody if they're discreet. And discretion is key in this legal field. You don't want somebody who's just going to go around and blast all your business to everybody, and it's just not a great idea. I've been at networking receptions where somebody would come on to me. I've been at networking receptions where a gentleman, a judge, actually made comments about the size of my chest. I'll do a separate video on that because I think it needs to be separate, because it's just such a terrible thing to do at a networking reception. It doesn't show that you're business-like. It shows that, if you can't be discreet in your romantic life, like how are you going to be discreet as an attorney? I'm sure there's not like a direct correlation, but it feels like there is, right? So you don't want to come on to someone. If you do see somebody who you're interested in, from a networking perspective, I want you to maybe get to know them a little bit more, especially if you're networking in a bar association or a law student organization or something like that, where you're going to see them again, right? This is not the first time you see them. This is not, the first and only time you see them, I should say. So you can kind of hold off a little bit, make sure that person is discreet, make sure that person's not going to go off and tell all your business if they are indeed interested in you, and you don't want to come across that way. So make sure you're just putting your best foot forward and your business foot forward. So pressing play at 7:46.
Yeah, I bet. So I think we covered this already, but what, if anything, should law students do after a networking reception?
Yeah, very much follow up. It's very important to follow up, either with a phone call or maybe with an email. If they have an email address, and then maybe later a phone call. But definitely.
Yes, I'm stopping here again at 8:06. Usually, you're following up with an email nowadays. It's usually not like a card, like a written card that you're mailing to the person, or a phone call. So it's most of the time it's an email. Email first, then you might move up to a phone call. And I show you how to do that in the Networking for Law Students on the website, networkingforlawstudents.com. there's a thing called The Art of Following Up, and I'll link that pamphlet in the description box below to this video. So pressing play at 8:06.
Follow up the best way you can.
Okay, great. Let's say there's somebody influential or famous present at a networking reception that everyone is eager to speak with. How should our members handle that?
So stopping here at 8:19. So again, when I say members, this was done for a law student organization, so that's what I mean by members. Originally done for the law student organization. So pressing play at 8:19.
And again, just be patient. Most famous people or influential people know that they're going to be the center of attention or something like that, and they really do want to try to make time for everyone that wants to speak to them. But once you do get to them, make sure you have something specific to say after introducing yourself. And that's something I still do to this day. I remember
just stopping here at 8:38. So the reason why I stopped it here is I want to make clear that you shouldn't form a line. And a lot of people do that, like they're kind of like hovering for a little bit and then they like form a line because they want to speak to them privately or something. Don't do that. Like, it's a networking reception is for everybody, and you don't want to be talking to one person then chomping and looking like you're chomping at the bit to talk to somebody else that's more famous or something like that, like looking over their shoulder, trying to see if they're free or anything like that. And don't form a line. People keep doing that. Don't do that. If somebody's been busy the entire night and you still wanted to talk to them, what I would suggest is networking toward the door. So most people come in through one door and then they network one way, away from the door. So what I would suggest to you is network the other way. Network from the back of the room or something like that, and network toward the door, because you might be able to bump into that person as they're leaving, accidentally on purpose, bumping into them. I've met somebody in the elevator that gave me a job lead on my way out. So again, don't form a line, but just change your direction and network toward the door if it's toward the end of the night, and people have been there for a long time, and that there's somebody who you wanted to speak to that you didn't get a chance to. So pressing play at 8:38.
when I was, I'm a graduate of George Washington University, and one of at our Black Alumni Association reception at one of our alumni weekends was Vincent Gray, who at that point was the Democratic nominee to become mayor of the city, and he was also a GW graduate. So again, he had numerous people waiting to speak to him. So it's kind of was just biding my time. And then what I got up to him, I specifically talked about, how I was a former, D.C. government.
Yes, I'm stopping here at 9:11. So that's pretty important. He didn't just wait around and, wait to speak to this person. He was networking at the same time. And when he did get a chance to speak with him, it wasn't like a fan. He was like, can I get a picture? Like, again, you want, at a networking reception, you want people to see you as an equal and as a colleague. You're not going to do that by just say, hey, can I get a picture? Like, no, you just don't want to do that. So pressing play at 9:11.
Employee with the D.C. Office of Personnel, and how I recall his time when he was on the council and things to that. And it just kind of, that was my segue into, having a little bit of a conversation with him. So again, just make sure you have something specific to say, not that you're just up there for possibly get a photo or anything like that. That's not what you really want to do, something like that.
Yeah. So many networking receptions include alcoholic beverages. Should our members partake?
I would say no. And no matter how well you think you're able to handle your liquor, your wine, I would just avoid it. Just stick to the water, stick to the soda, or whatever punch that they have. Because you just leave the alcohol to the, to not say to the grown-ups, but to the people who are already established. Because again, you're also.
So stopping here at 10:02. So there's two schools of thoughts to this. One, as Judge Dixon said, but the other school of thought is that people want to see you. Nobody wants to work with a stick in the mud. Somebody boring, right? They want to see if you could handle your liquor, and so you would drink just to sort of let loose a little bit. but not too much. You don't want to, keep going to the bar and getting another drink. What I used to do, because I used to be a bartender, what I did was I would get something that looks like a drink. So it's a best of both worlds. Like here, I'm, capable and I'm handling myself well, but it looks like I'm still having fun. So again, two schools of thought, and then there's my little midway thing. So I would get something that looks like vodka and cranberry. So I would get, which is called a Cape Codder some places. So I would just get, cranberry and Sprite, and then ask the bartender for a lime garnish. It looks just like a vodka cranberry. That's what I would do. But Judge Dixon is saying, don't get a drink. You don't want to be seen going back and forth to the bar. Like, that's just not a good look for you. Also not a good look is if you get drunk. So again, I'm going to do another video on just that aspect of it, because I've seen friends, and I've actually had to take them home because they got a little bit too drunk. I remember being part of law student organizations, and we had an event, and we had to kick some people out. The board had to kick a person out because of their drunkenness, and they're very overly touchy, both male or female, gay, straight, otherwise, like just very handsy. You don't want to do that. You don't want to say the wrong thing or inappropriate things. Like I said, that judge who commented on my body parts, which I'll do in a subsequent video. Yeah, he was drunk. It's just a little short guy too, so I don't know how much he was drinking, but he just made a comment, and it was loud and in front of everybody, and I wasn't necessarily embarrassed because it's not about me, but it's about him. But really, it's just it kind of just tainted the night. So you just want to make sure that you're not that guy. You're not that person who drinks, it just kind of ruins the fun for everybody because you're overly drinking. And you don't want to have the reputation that that's what you do. I've seen that as well. I've seen that from somebody actually from my school who, an attorney actually came up to me and said something to the effect of, I'm sort of ashamed of somebody that goes to your school. And I was like, oh. And even described, she didn't even say the name yet, this attorney, about this fellow law student of mine. She didn't even say the person's name yet. She just described this ceremony that this person was getting an award for, and how they were acting, because they were, drinking. And just the inappropriate way, and just like that they shamed the whole school. So it, just in the way that they were acting, you don't want to be known for that. And I knew who it was that this attorney was referring to without even ever saying the name. Like, well, she did eventually, but before she ever said the name, I knew exactly who she was talking about, because I've seen this particular person get drunk on more than one occasion and just be rude to people, cut in line at like the food line or the drink line, and be like sort of overly pushy and just really condescending. So again, you don't want to be that person and known for that. And she's the student that I'm talking about is a woman from my school, and she hasn't even graduated yet, and she's already known for that in the legal community. So pressing play at 10:02.
Making an impression, and you want to make sure that impression is as positive as you can make it. And alcohol is just it's a pitfall. It's a potential pitfall, no matter how much you drink or whatever. You're gonna it always eludes someone's inhibition, excuse me, and you just might do something that you just normally wouldn't do. Just remember, you're in a professional setting, and you're making the best possible impression and to someone who might be influential in your career down the line. So
I'm stopping here at 10:38. Like, when he reminds you that this is a professional setting, that is key. So even if you're just hanging out in a law student organization and they're having a networking reception, or you have a lot of friends around you and everything else at this networking reception, still, it's a professional setting. And it's a public setting. So both of those things You don't want to do anything that's inappropriate. You don't want to, and even if you think you can handle your liquor, maybe this time you can't. Maybe this is some kind of new liquor that you're not used to, some brand or something like that, or something in the atmosphere is making you behave differently than you otherwise would. I just don't want you to hurt your career. I always want you to be cognizant of your career at all times, even when you're letting your hair down. So you could let your hair down, but not all the way. Don't just get drunk if you're going to get drunk on your own time at home. Now that you're in a professional setting, and now that you've chosen to be in a profession, in a profession that's known for being more elite. This is not the time to get drunk. This is not the time to do any sort of inappropriate dancing because you're drunk. I've seen that too. I've seen people on tables. I've seen people kind of do crazy things to poles that are holding the building up during networking receptions. And this is not something that you want to be known for. Again, be cognizant of your career at all times. So stop pressing play at 10:38.
Personal recommendation would be to avoid alcohol and just stick to the water and soda.
All right, great. Well, I think that's all the time we have. Again, thank you so much, Judge Dixon, for speaking with us on the topic of networking.
I'm glad to help.
I wanted to thank Judge Dixon again for granting us this interview. So I'm about to close out this reaction video, and I hope it was helpful to you. Some quick takeaways. Networking receptions are just one form of networking, but people tend to picture that as the only form and have a lot of anxiety about it. Make sure to check out our website, networkingforlawstudents.com, where we have a news ticker so that you can use that to stay current on different topics that you can use while networking at a reception. Keep your career and reputation in mind at all times. Thank you for making networking for law students and lawyers a part of your day. Bye for now. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. It's free. Networking for Law Students LLC. Visit our website, networkingforlawstudents.com. We're on Instagram. It's Networking for Law Students 1, and Facebook is Networking for Law Students. Be sure to check out our courses on thinkific.com. We have a new and totally free study skills course that can be used for both law school exams and the bar exam.